Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Dang Teach at CCSD. Today we'll be covering drug regulation and control. It's going to be a three-part series, so stay tuned for part 2 of 3 and part 3 of 3 coming up. So pharmacy regulation can be complex, but don't get bogged down with every piece of legislation. Just try to remember the key points and the key terms for each piece of legislation. Learning objectives. So a little bit of the legislations, the new drug process. So we'll go over R&D, um, patents for brand and generic when they expire. We'll talk about controlled substances, OTC, and even BTC products, behind the counter products. So the restrictions of the OTCs, those are the BTC products, the behind the counter products. 5 controlled substance schedules. We'll learn how to do DEA numbers, talk about DEA Form 222, and of course, know the process for drug recalls.
Starting off with the first piece of legislation, Food and Drug Act. The main thing here to focus on is misbranding and adulteration. So this law required that you have the correct labeling on drugs. The next law, 1914 Harrison Tax Act, taxed narcotics. This was due to stem the increased abuse of opiate containing products. Next was the Beefed Up and Current Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act. This required that drugs are both safe and effective before marketing. And this occurred due to the thalidomide disaster in Europe, where women were given thalidomide for nausea and vomiting, which caused severe birth defects. 1951 Durham-Humphrey Amendment. This was the struggle between doctors and pharmacists. Doctors believe that they had the training to prescribe the correct medication, where pharmacists believe that they had enough training and experience to recommend certain drugs. Hence the establishment of over-the-counter medication, where pharmacists can recommend, and legend drugs, which are prescription only and must be prescribed by doctors. Next is the 1962 Kiefer-Harris Amendment. The key term for this amendment is manufacturers must prove that their drugs are both safe and effective. The term teratogenicity literally translate into monster making, and that's the term used for severe birth defects. 1970 Poison Prevention Packaging Act. Drug products must be in child-resistant packaging. There are some exceptions, particularly nitroglycerin sublingual. 1970 Controlled Substance Act. This classified the 5 levels of controlled substances and formed the DEA. 1930 Act, 38 Orphan Drug Act. You'll see that new drugs will cost on average over $1 billion and anywhere from 10 to 15 years investment. So there's no incentive for manufacturers to develop drugs for rare diseases where they would not be able to recoup their research and development costs. So the Orphan Drug Act provides incentives and shortcuts for those manufacturers. 1990, OBRA 90. There's been many Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. Since this is a budget act, it does deal with money, the national budget, And since it is a federal act, it initially dealt with federal patients. So only patients who were covered under Medicaid and Medicare. OBR 90 required two things: pharmacists to conduct counseling and to perform DURs, drug utilization review. So if patients take their drugs incorrectly and end up in the hospital, it would cost the government a lot more money. Hence, the counseling provided by the pharmacist to instruct the patient how to take the drug correctly, what side effects to look for, will hopefully decrease any hospital visits due to drug-drug interaction or drug-disease interaction. 1990 Anabolic Steroid Control Act rescheduled anabolic steroids such as testosterone as a Schedule 2. HIPAA, HIPAA. So the portability part of HIPAA is the continuance of healthcare through COBRA, and the accountability part defines protected health information. So those are the two parts of HIPAA. All right, review questions. Quickly describe. So I'll give you the key terms for each of these pieces of legislation. Food and Drug Act, the key term there would be labeling. Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act, safety. Safety before marketing. Durham-Humphrey, that established the true classes of drugs, OTCs, and prescription only. Kiefer-Harris Amendment required that manufacturers prove that their drug is not only safe, but also effective before marketing. Controlled Substance Acts, key term there, 5 schedule of drugs. OBR 90, 2 requirements, patient counseling, and DURs, drug utilization review. HIPAA, portability, continuance of healthcare, accountability, established protected health information, PHI. All right, continue on. New drug approval process. So any new drug will be evaluated by the FDA Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. Initially, you'll do lab studies, mixing chemicals, and or doing computer simulations. Next, preclinicals. Clinicals involve humans. Preclinicals, therefore, will involve animal testings. Next, your investigational new drug application. This is when you present to the world your chemical, your idea for a new drug, and since you present it as yours, that's when your patent starts to run out. Once your IND is approved, you'll then enter human trials, clinical trials, then your new drug application, and once it's reviewed and approved, we'll continue to surveillance the drug just to see if any new side effects might come up. So that overall process would take anywhere from 10 to 15 years and at a cost of about $1 billion. Preclinical. So you'll have to use at least 2 animal species, one rodent, one non-rodent, and you're really just testing drug disposition, how it's absorbed into the blood, distributed to the site of action, metabolized in the liver, and excreted by the kidneys. Once you believe it's safe enough to proceed on to human testing, you'll submit your investigational new drug application. Of course, this is when your patent protection starts to expire. Phase 1 clinical trials, small scale study, short term in healthy adults. Here is really just a safety study and trying to see how the drug works in the body. Phase 2, a bit longer. Now we do test it in patients who have the disease in question. So we're both testing safety and effectiveness. In phase three, this is your long-term clinical trials. You can have thousands of patients enrolled, 4 to 5 years, and this is where a majority of your research and development costs will take place. At the end of phase three clinical trials, you'll collect your data and submit your new drug application to the FDA. Takes them up to about 18 months to review. I think the cost is a couple $1 million. They can deny your new drug. They can approve it. You can then start marketing right away. Or they may ask you to repeat certain parts of your clinical trials. Maybe repeat phase three and resubmit for reevaluation. Once your drug is approved, we'll continue to market surveillance the drug. That means any additional adverse events that were unreported during clinical trials will be collected by the FDA, and adjustments, dose adjustments, or recalls might take place if necessary. Review question. Let's place the process of new drug discovery in order. So the first step would be laboratory studies. After laboratory studies, you'll go ahead and let's do some preclinicals. Let's test it in animals. Once we test it in animals, we want to go on to humans, but we have to let everyone know our chemical. So we'll apply for an investigational new drug application. Once we tell the world, remember that's when our patent protection starts to expire. We'll proceed on to clinical trial phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We'll then submit our new drug application. And if your drug's approved, we'll continue on market surveillance, which is also termed phase 4. Marketing drugs. So you have 17-year patent protection from the time of investigational new drug application. The Hatch-Waxman Acts allow you for a 5-year extension. That's so you can recoup your research and development costs. After your patent protection ends, any company can then market a generic version of your drug. They just have to do a short-term clinical trial to prove that the generic version works as well as the brand. You can find generic equivalence rating in the Drugs Topic Red Book. Chapter of the Drugs Topic Red Book is the Orange Book. Review question. When does the 17-year patent protection start to expire for a new drug? If you said B, at submission of investigational new drug application, you are correct. Where can therapeutically equivalent ratings for generic drugs be found? That would be in the Orange Book, and that is a chapter in Drugs Topics Red Book.
That brings us to the end of part 1 of 3. So look for part 2 of 3 coming up next. And again, thank you everybody for joining me today for pharmacy regulation and control. I'll see you next time. Thank you.